All right, y'all. So now we've talked about the map. I hope you've located and shaded those areas. Be prepared for that for a little bit later for that quiz that we'll eventually have. So let's go ahead and jump into our next element, the Concert of Europe. One of the major agreements from the Congress of Vienna is the establishment of what we call the Concert of Europe. The Concert of Europe is not about music. The word concert means to act together. And the Concert of Europe was the agreement in which the Quadruple Alliance would make sure that France behaved. So the Concert of Europe originated in 1815 so that they would prevent French aggrandizement. Really important concept there. These are four conservative powers. They're going to make sure France behaved. By 1818, the concert is going to have a Congress, and this is also called the Congress system. Every time there's an issue, they have a Congress. There was a Congress that met together, and because France had paid their reparations, they had paid what they needed to. They had stabilized with Louis the 18th, in that they were now a well-behaved country. They're now going that quadruple alliance is going to expand to a quintuple alliance. In other words, these five conservative states are now supposed to act in concert with the goal of maintaining the balance of power and general security of Europe. There will not be a general war until 1914, and we're going to kind of see how that it takes about 50 years at the end of the century to kind of lead us that way. But that's what we're looking at. So now we've identified the concert. The concert's about these five countries. When any issue occurs, they're going to come together and they want to maintain a sense of balance of power. In 1817, 1819, there's a series of German uprisings that the German students, they had formed these unions. There were romantic nationalist professors who encouraged them to rise up. This was actually part of a 300-year anniversary of the 95 Theses, Martin Luther, really the idea of the birth of this German identity, they thought. And their goal was to create a national republic of Germany. Well, there was a great fear that if this gets out of hand, if Germany does come together, that could offset the balance of power. So this is when, let's see this element right here, and then that's when the Carlsbad decrees were passed. The concert agreed with Metternich to create these Carlsbad decrees, and it's a brutal shutdown of the unions. It's going to increase censorship and the use of secret police. They're going to arrest not only student leaders, but also professors. They're going to have sleeper agents on the college campuses to ensure these romantic nationalists are quieted. And really by the end of 1819, the hope of German unification is really gone. That conservative order has successfully reestablished itself. In Spain and Italy, another series of revolutions. The Spaniards and Italians, inspired by the end of the Napoleonic Wars, desired to create a revolutionary constitutional monarchs. And in Spain, they actually were successful. They forced the Bourbon monarch to embrace constitutional changes. And this is when the concert agreed. They met together in two different congresses, and as they hashed it out, they said, yes, France, go crush that Spanish revolt. Austria, go crush that Italian revolt. So now all of a sudden, any liberal nationalistic revolution is quashed. So we see Germany, we see Spain, we see Italy. And now all of a sudden, the concert of Europe is no longer just about maintaining the five balance of power. It's the use of these conservative powers to maintain a sense of stability. With that said, I do want to point out the Congress of Troppau. This is a really important one because it changed the nature of the concert. So instead, remember, originally the whole purpose of the concert was to maintain stability with France, kind of make sure they behave. Now they shift to the principle of intervention. Please write that down. Principle of intervention. Yes, they're going to maintain diplomacy with the five, but they're going to intervene in the weaker countries to ensure stability. So now these concerts, the concert would allow for these national soldiers to be sent into Germany, Spain, Italy, these other countries to quash these type of revolutionaries, to intervene. And that's an important element because which country may not want to intervene in these liberal uprisings? Of the five, which one has a taste of liberalism? Of course, it's Great Britain. And by the 1820s, we're going to start seeing Great Britain begin to withdraw. And that's going to be called splendid isolation. From 1822 to the 1890s, Great Britain will begin to be part of this thing called splendid isolation. They believe the continent has been stabilized. There's no need to worry. The dog is sleeping. Let that lie. And they're going to be from here during the splendid isolation, they're going to be focused on industrial and imperial development. Really important here as a concert is really kind of taking root here. We see that element. The last uprising is going to be that we're going to talk about here is the Decembrist Revolt. In Russia, when I think about Russia, Russia is a backwards country, serfdom. We know that they lack any real kind of Western culture, Westernization. Peter and Catherine had kind of failed to really transform the Russian into a European state. And in 1825, Alexander I died, created a succession crisis. His eldest son, Constantine, feared that he would be murdered by his younger brother, Nicholas, if he attempted to ascend the throne. So he just kind of left. So as Constantine fled, in December, there's going to be a month here in 1825 where there's literally no czar. And this is when the Decembrists were liberal-minded military officers that were inspired by their occupation of France. These were troops who were in Paris and they saw these beautiful buildings, the Arc of Triumph, the palaces, all of these different elements. They see the art, the David, and they see these universities and there's growth and they're like, oh my God, we need a constitutional monarchy. So the Decembrists, they believe now they're back in St. Petersburg. They feel this is their moment. They're hoping to hold on to power, and instead of giving power to Nicholas right away, they're hoping to negotiate. Unfortunately for them, Nicholas was able to secure the regular army, and he brutally destroyed them. He's going to execute the leaders, and the rest are going to be exiled to Siberia. Siberia is this frozen wasteland in northern Russia, in which it's not somewhere you want to be. Nicholas becomes the most conservative leader in Europe. This is a shift here. Nicholas I decides, no, we're not going to allow for any type of growth. And in the end, the last thing we're going to write here that we're going to conclude on this is the idea that Nicholas said, hey, we have this thing called official nationality. There is a one Russian. What is it? Orthodoxy. We're Orthodox Christians. We're Russian, and we're autocracy. So the three words for this nationality is orthodoxy, nationalism, autocracy. Autocracy. The idea that they have a rule. And now this becomes the law of land. By 1830, any element of revolution is gone. So the Decembrist Revolution, 1825, the hope of change is crushed, and Nicholas becomes the most reactionary leader. So what is reactionary Europe looking like here? Under Metternich's leadership, the Council of Europe quashed several revolts. Rather than the promises of the revolution, continental conservatives believe stability could be achieved only through absolutism, state, religion, aristocracy. And with the restoration of these traditional dynasties throughout Europe, the aristocratic hope of traditional dominance would soon be challenged in 1830 and 1848. But those challenges are going to be domestic challenges. We're not going to see any significant wars until we get past 1850, and even those significant wars will be between two countries. So, despite this, I do think that we have to make sure we balance this out. Reactionary Europe. Yes, any type of liberal progress is gone, but they establish a sense of stability that's going to last nearly a century. I hope that makes sense. We're going to finish, pause here, and we have one more set with Latin America.